unexpected reunion. The morning had already gone terribly wrong for Olivia Mitchell. Her alarm failed, the coffee maker leaked all over her portfolio, and now her rideshare had dropped her at the wrong building. She stood before the gleaming glass tower of Westfield Innovations, squinting at her phone to double-check the address. "This can't be right," she muttered, scrolling frantically through her emails. The photography gig was supposed to be at Bryant Consulting, not. Her thumb froze over the screen as recognition dawned. Westfield, as in Julian Westfield. 6 years hadn't dulled the memory of his name. 6 years since he'd told her that his startup needed his full attention, that they wanted different things, that it was better to end things now than drag it out. 6 years since she'd packed up their shared apartment and walked away from the man she thought she'd marry. The universe had a cruel sense of humor. She checked her watch, already 15 minutes late for the actual appointment. One quick call to her client confirmed her suspicions. She'd written down the wrong address. The real location was 20 minutes away in crosstown traffic. "I can reschedule for tomorrow," she offered, wincing as her client sighed audibly. "The executives are all traveling tomorrow. It's today or we find someone else." Panic bubbled in her chest. She couldn't afford to lose this job. Not with rent due and her equipment payments behind. "I'll be there as soon as possible," she promised, already turning to leave. That's when the universe delivered its punchline. "Olivia? Olivia Mitchell?" The voice, deeper than she remembered but unmistakable, stopped her cold. She turned slowly, clutching her camera bag like a shield. Julian Westfield stood 10 feet away, wearing a perfectly tailored charcoal suit that made his shoulders look broader than she remembered. His dark hair was shorter, styled with precision rather than the disheveled look he'd sported in college. Success looked good on him, irritatingly good. "I thought that was you," he said, crossing the space between them with measured steps. "What are you doing here?" Olivia straightened her spine. "Wrong address. Just leaving." His eyes, still that intense shade of blue that had once made her forget her own name, studied her face. "You're working as a photographer now? You actually did it?" The note of surprise in his voice stung. "Yes, I actually did." She didn't add that she was barely scraping by with corporate headshots and product photography instead of the artistic work she'd dreamed of. That's fantastic." He seemed genuinely pleased, which somehow made it worse. "Are you here for the Bryant Consulting shoot?" She blinked. "How did you know?" "We share a building management company. They mentioned it." He glanced at his watch. "You're running late." "Thanks for the update," she replied dryly. "I need to go." Julian's expression changed, something calculating replacing his surprise. "Wait, I have a proposition. I'm not interested in—" "I need a photographer." He gestured toward the building. "Our marketing team just fired the agency we were using. The work was subpar." Olivia laughed without humor. "So I'm your convenient replacement?" "You're talented." "Always were." His gaze was steady, professional. "This is strictly business, Olivia. A significant contract much larger than Bryant's." She should walk away. Every instinct screamed it. Yet the practical side of her, the side that knew exactly how much debt she carried, made her hesitate. "I'm listening. Come upstairs. I'll show you what we need. Make it worth your while." His expression softened slightly. "And I'll call Bryant, explain the mix-up. They're one of our clients. They won't want to upset me." Olivia weighed her options. A guaranteed paycheck versus her pride. The choice was frustratingly clear. "Fine," she said, adjusting her camera bag. "But this is just work. Nothing more." Julian's smile didn't quite reach his eyes. "Of course. Just business." As the elevator doors closed behind them, Olivia wondered what mistake she was making, showing up at the wrong address, or stepping back into Julian Westfield's orbit after finally convincing herself she was over him. Reluctant arrangement. The Westfield Innovations headquarters looked exactly how Olivia would have imagined Julian's domain, sleek, modern, and intimidating. Glass-walled conference rooms flanked a sprawling open workspace where dozens of employees tapped away at computers or huddled around whiteboards covered in diagrams. "We've grown quite a bit," Julian said, noticing her taking it all in. "Started with just 4 of us in a garage. Now we're over 200. "Congratulations," Olivia replied, keeping her tone neutral. She wouldn't give him the satisfaction of appearing impressed, though privately she was. This was the dream he'd described to her all those nights in college, sketching ideas on napkins while she photographed his excited expressions for a portrait series. Julian led her to his office, a corner space with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. He gestured for her to sit across from his desk. "So what exactly is this project?" she asked, getting straight to business. "We're rebranding. New website, new marketing materials, new everything." He slid a tablet toward her, displaying a sleek presentation. "We need photography that captures the human side of technology. Our previous photographers delivered sterile, cold images. That's not what we want." Olivia swiped through the examples, instantly understanding the problem. These could be for any tech company. There's nothing distinctive. Exactly. Julian leaned forward. "I remember your style, Liv. You see people, not subjects." The familiar nickname caught her off guard. She looked up sharply. "Don't call me that." An awkward silence fell between them. Julian cleared his throat. "Sorry, professional boundaries. What's the timeline?" she asked, steering back to safer ground. 6 weeks. "Full creative control, but I'll need to approve the final selections." He named a figure that made Olivia's eyes widen. It was more than she typically made in 3 months. "That's generous. It's market rate for someone with your talent." A knock at the door interrupted them. A man with sandy brown hair poked his head in, then broke into a wide grin. "No way, Olivia Mitchell?" She recognized him immediately. "Damien Porter. It's been a while." Damien entered, giving her a quick hug. "When did this reunion happen?" "About 20 minutes ago," Julian replied. "Olivia's considering taking on our rebranding photography." "Considering?" Damien raised an eyebrow. "You'd be perfect for it. Julian's been rejecting photographers left and right. Nobody meets his standards." Julian shot Damien a warning look, which Olivia caught. "Interesting." "I haven't decided yet," she said, though the money made the decision nearly inevitable. "I need to review the contract." "Of course!" Julian pulled out a folder. "I had legal prepare something when I saw you downstairs. Review it. Make any changes you need." The preparation unnerved her. "You were that confident I'd say yes?" "I was hopeful," he corrected. "And prepared, in case that hope was justified." Damien glanced between them, sensing the tension. "I should get back to my meeting." "Great seeing you, Liv. Don't be a stranger." After he left, Olivia scanned the contract quickly. The terms were more than fair. "Why me, Julian? There are hundreds of photographers in this city." He hesitated, seeming to weigh his words. "Because I've seen your work. You capture authenticity in a way others don't." "You've seen my work?" She frowned. "How?" "I follow your professional Instagram." He looked slightly embarrassed. "I never unfollowed after he broke her heart." The unspoken words hung between them. Olivia signed the contract before she could overthink it. "I'll start tomorrow. Send me the schedule and details." "Thank you." Julian looked genuinely relieved. "And Olivia? I know this is awkward, but I'm hoping we can be professional. Maybe even friendly." She stood, gathering her things. "Professional, yes. Friendly is a stretch." As she walked out, Julian called after her. "For what it's worth, I'm glad it was you who walked through those doors today." Olivia didn't turn around. She couldn't let him see how those words affected her, how easily they threatened to unravel 6 years of carefully constructed indifference. She stepped into the elevator, her reflection fractured in its mirrored walls. 6 weeks. She could handle 6 weeks of Julian Westfield. After all, she was over him, wasn't she? Memories resurfacing. 3 weeks into the project, Olivia had to admit that working with Westfield Innovations wasn't the emotional minefield she'd feared. Julian kept his distance, showing up only for scheduled progress reviews. Their interactions remained strictly professional, though she occasionally caught him watching her when he thought she wasn't looking. Today she was photographing the development team, capturing them in their natural environment rather than posed shots. She found herself enjoying the challenge, drawing out genuine moments from people typically uncomfortable in front of a camera. "They're responding well to you," came a voice behind her. Damien approached, offering her a coffee. The last photographer had them looking like hostages. Olivia accepted the drink gratefully. People relax when you talk to them like humans instead of props. Speaking of humans, how are you handling all this? He gestured vaguely. Working with Julian must be strange, she shrugged. It's fine. Ancient history, is it? Damien's expression turned serious. Because he's different since you started here. More present. He actually ate lunch in the break room yesterday instead of at his desk. That's not my business. She adjusted her camera settings, avoiding his gaze. Do you ever think about how things might have been different? If he hadn't— No, she interrupted firmly. I don't play that game, but she did. Late at night, scrolling through the day's photographs, she couldn't help remembering. The way Julian had once described his dreams to her in their tiny apartment, his face animated with passion. How he'd listened to her talk about photography with the same intensity she gave to his startup ideas. They had been equals then, both burning with ambition, until suddenly, they weren't. She recalled the growing distance. Late nights when he didn't come home. Important gallery showings he missed. The final argument when he told her he needed to focus on his company, that they wanted different things from life. You need to choose, she had told him. The company or us. It was an ultimatum born of hurt and exhaustion, one she sometimes wished she could take back. Olivia? A voice pulled her from the memory. Julian stood before her, concern etched on his face. You okay? She blinked, realizing she'd been staring at her camera without moving for several minutes. I'm fine. Just thinking about the next setup. I wanted to invite you to a meeting. The marketing team has some specific requests for the next phase. She followed him to a conference room where several team members waited with mood boards and sample layouts. As they discussed concepts, Julian's assistant entered with lunch for everyone. You remembered, Olivia murmured when she opened her container to find a vegetable curry. Julian glanced up. That you're vegetarian? Of course. Such a small thing, yet it triggered another flood of memories. Julian surprising her with dinner after late classes, learning to cook vegetarian dishes when they moved in together. The care he'd once shown in 100 little ways before his company became his only focus. The meeting continued, but Olivia found it hard to concentrate. When it finally ended, she gathered her equipment quickly, needing space to breathe. Wait, Julian called as she reached the elevator. Are the arrangements for the company gala clear? We need those shots for the website launch. Crystal clear. Black tie, full coverage this Saturday. He nodded, then hesitated. You'll need a +1. For appearance's sake. As our photographer, you should look like a guest. I don't have a +1. You could bring your boyfriend. His tone was carefully casual. I don't have one of those. Either. Something flashed in his eyes. Relief. Bring a friend then. Or I could have my assistant arrange someone appropriate. I'll handle it, she said tersely. The elevator arrived and she stepped inside, grateful for the escape. Back in her apartment that evening, Olivia reviewed the day's photos. She paused on one she'd taken when Julian wasn't aware. His profile as he looked out the window, a moment of unguarded thoughtfulness. Something about his expression reminded her of the boy she'd known, before success had sharpened his edges. Her phone buzzed with a text from Natalie. Drinks tonight? I need details on the X situation, Olivia sighed. The X situation was becoming more complicated by the day, as memories she'd buried resurfaced with each interaction. Working with Julian was reopening old wounds, but also revealing something unexpected. Glimpses of the man she'd once loved still existed beneath the successful CEO exterior, and that realization was far more dangerous than simple resentment. Confronting the truth. The Westfield Innovations Gala transformed the city's modern art museum into a technological wonderland. Blue and silver lights cast geometric patterns across white walls, while interactive displays showcased the company's latest innovations. Olivia moved through the crowd, camera in hand, capturing candid moments of delight and wonder on guests' faces. You should put that down occasionally, said Natalie, appearing at her side in a sleek black dress. You're supposed to be half guest, remember? Olivia had finally convinced her skeptical best friend to accompany her. I'm more comfortable behind the camera. You know that. What I know is that you've barely stopped working since we arrived. Natalie handed her a champagne flute. And I also know you're avoiding a certain CEO who keeps looking for you. I'm not avoiding him. I'm doing my job. Mm-hmm. Natalie's disbelieving expression said everything. You've talked about him more in the past 3 weeks than in the previous 6 years. Complaining about someone isn't the same as pining for them. Who said anything about pining? Natalie smirked. Though now that you mention it, Olivia groaned. Go mingle. I need to get shots of the main presentation. The lights dimmed as Julian took the stage. He commanded attention effortlessly, speaking about innovation and human connection with genuine passion. Olivia photographed him, noticing how the audience leaned forward when he spoke, drawn in by his natural charisma. Technology isn't about replacing human connection, he was saying. It's about enhancing it, making it possible across distances and differences. That's always been my vision. His eyes found hers in the crowd. For a moment, it felt like he was speaking directly to her. Olivia lowered her camera, momentarily forgetting to capture the moment. After the presentation, she continued working, photographing groups of elegantly dressed attendees. She was adjusting her lens when a familiar voice spoke behind her. You've been avoiding me. She turned to find Julian, impeccable in his tuxedo. I've been working. You've gotten every shot except ones with me in them. His observation was gentle, not accusatory. Walk with me? There's something I want to show you. Against her better judgment, she followed him through a side door that led to a small garden terrace, empty of other guests. The city skyline glittered beyond. Why did you bring me here? She asked. Privacy? He loosened his bow tie slightly. And because I remember how you used to say you could think better under open sky. The fact that he remembered such a small detail caught her off guard. Julian, please just listen. He took a deep breath. I've been wanting to tell you something since the day you walked into my building. I owe you an explanation about why things ended the way they did. It was 6 years ago. We both moved on. The words felt hollow even as she spoke them. Did we? Because I look at you and I still see the woman who knew me before all this. He gestured toward the building. The woman who believed in me when no one else did. You chose your company over us. You made that perfectly clear. That's not what happened. He ran a hand through his hair, a gesture so familiar it made her heart ache. My father was going to pull his investment. The only investment we had. He said I was distracted, that I needed to commit fully. Olivia stared at him. Your father? What are you talking about? He came to me the week before our breakup. Said he'd watched me building a life with you, the apartment, the talk about our future. He said entrepreneurs who divided their focus failed. Julian's voice turned bitter. He gave me an ultimatum. The relationship or the company. And you chose. I chose wrong. His eyes met hers, filled with regret. I told myself I was protecting you, that if the company failed, I'd have nothing to offer you. That one day when I succeeded, I could make it up to you. Olivia felt anger rising. So you lied. Made me think you didn't want the same things. That I wasn't important enough. I was 26 and terrified of failing everyone. It was the biggest mistake of my life. Why tell me this now? Because seeing you again made me realize I never stopped. He caught himself. I never stopped regretting what I did. And you deserve to know the truth. Olivia turned away, emotions threatening to overwhelm her. I have my own confession. After we broke up, I got offered that fellowship in Paris, the one we always talked about. The Lefebvre Photography Fellowship? Julian's eyes widened. But that was your dream. I turned it down. I couldn't bear to live our dream alone. She laughed bitterly. I chose safety instead. Corporate jobs, predictable work, everything I swore I'd never settle for. The silence between them vibrated with shared regret. We both made choices we thought would protect us, Julian finally said, and ended up losing what mattered most. In the distance, the party continued, but on that quiet terrace, time seemed suspended as two people faced the truth they'd avoided for 6 years. Second chances. The morning after the gala, Olivia sat in her apartment surrounded by hundreds of photographs spread across her living room floor. The images captured celebration, innovation, connection, everything Westfield Innovations represented. Everything except the moment that mattered most to her. The truth Julian had finally shared. Her phone buzzed. Natalie, you disappeared last night. With him. Details required immediately. She ignored it, selecting images for the final portfolio. The project was nearly complete. Soon she would deliver the files, collect her payment, and walk away from Westfield Innovations and Julian once more. But something had shifted. The anger she'd carried for years had transformed overnight into something more complex. Understanding, regret, and perhaps, though she was afraid to name it, hope. A knock at her door startled her. She opened it to find Julian, casual in jeans and a sweater, looking unlike the polished CEO she'd grown accustomed to seeing. "How did you know where I live?" she asked. "Your address is on your contract." He held up a paper bag. "I brought breakfast. Can I come in?" She hesitated, then stepped aside. Julian surveyed the photo-covered floor with appreciation. "These are remarkable, Olivia. You've captured exactly what I wanted people to see in the company." "That's the job." She cleared a space at her small dining table. He unpacked pastries and coffee, a peace offering of sorts. "I couldn't sleep last night. Kept thinking about our conversation." "Me too." She accepted a coffee cup, their fingers brushing briefly. "I'm not asking for forgiveness," Julian said carefully, "or expecting things to go back to how they were. Too much time has passed." "Then what are you asking for?" He met her gaze directly. "A chance to know who you are now, and maybe for you to know who I've become." Olivia considered his words. "We're different people." "Yes, but I think—" He struggled to find the right words. "I think some things don't change. Core things." She thought about the past weeks, how working alongside him had felt both new and familiar. How beneath the success and confidence, she'd glimpsed the passionate, idealistic man she'd once loved. "I have a proposition," she said finally. Julian smiled slightly. "Now who sounds like a business meeting?" "The Fellowship in Paris. They contacted me last month. They're doing a special mid-career program." She took a deep breath. I applied. "Got accepted yesterday." His face fell, but he quickly composed himself. "That's wonderful. You deserve it." "It's for 6 months." She studied his reaction. "I leave in 3 weeks." "I understand." He nodded, visibly trying to be supportive despite his disappointment. "It's an incredible opportunity." Olivia reached across the table, tentatively placing her hand over his. "My proposition is this. We take these 3 weeks. No expectations, no promises. Just 2 people getting reacquainted." Hope flickered in his eyes. "And after 6 months?" "After 6 months, we'll know if what we feel is real or just echoes of the past." She smiled slightly. "You built your company from nothing. I think you can handle a long-distance relationship if it comes to that. I would wait much longer than 6 months for a second chance with you." The quiet certainty in his voice made her heart race. "I won't make the same mistake twice." "Neither will I," she whispered. Julian's hand turned beneath hers, their fingers intertwining in a gesture both familiar and new. Outside her window, morning light spilled across the city they both loved, illuminating possibilities neither had dared imagine just weeks before. Their story, interrupted by fear and misunderstanding 6 years ago, wasn't guaranteed a happy ending. But as Julian pulled her gently to her feet, wrapping his arms around her in an embrace that felt like coming home, Olivia knew some wrong turns eventually led exactly where you were meant to be all along. The photography project that had accidentally brought them together was nearly finished. But their second chance, the opportunity to rediscover each other as the people they'd become, was just beginning.